We are now looking into NFTs and the wonderfully titled I Want My NFT. To talk about it and to take you through the panel, please welcome a friend of Music Matters, Stephen Dowler.
Christel Quek. Okay, and I think we're just waiting for Scott to join us. Okay. There he is. Hey, Scott, how are you?
I'm great. How are you guys?
Yeah, hanging in. Can't complain.
We're good.
Probably actually going to take my mask off now that I can, legally. All right, so I guess, I could introduce you, but for the sake of everyone else, let's have you just go around, and we'll start with you, Christel. What is your name, role, company, how it relates to NFTs, and what was your first NFT?
Oh, that's a great start. All right. Hi, everyone. My name is Christel. I'm the co-founder and CTO of Boat Global. We're a blockchain-based media and financial services, specifically decentralized finance ecosystem. And we have three main products: Boat Plus, which is our live streaming service, available on iOS, Android, and Hisense smart TVs. Boat X, our crypto wallet, also available on the app stores. Feel free to download it and let me know what you think. I'm going to be around, so love the feedback. And Exchange, which is our decentralized exchange, launching next year. Yeah, and my first NFT, that's actually a really great question. So I'm a bit embarrassed to admit, I bought my first CryptoPunk before it became popular, and then I sold it. So as I like to say, always buy when Christel sells and you'll make money. But we're not going to talk about speculation and in that NFT space today, because that's not always the reason why you should get an NFT, and I'm sure we're going to talk a lot about that.
We will get into it. And let's go with Scott. Yeah, same questions: name, role, company, how it relates to NFTs, and your first NFT.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. I am outside of Boston, and it's a particularly different temperature here than I think it is where you guys are. So I'm going to try to absorb that. I've been in the music business for the last 30 years, starting out in the A&R world, moving into management, and participating in different technology opportunities as they presented themselves over all those years. Currently, while I also have my own management practice, I am running the music division of Ureeqa, a blockchain company based in Toronto. And our overriding goal at Ureeqa is to create an environment where we can protect creators' works and validate their works, to create authenticity for these works on the blockchain. It's an exciting time to be in the NFT space, and the NFT space is certainly, I think the Wild West reference has been made way too many times, but I'll use it one more time. It's certainly the Wild West. You have no idea what you're buying out there, so if you're looking for validation, this is our company. We've also just started a music business publishing administration collection service. We are literally, the ink is not dry on our agreements with Cobalt, who's doing our back-end collection, and with our first artists. So there's a lot of aspirational things we're looking at. Everything from allowing our songwriters to take their royalties in either all or part in crypto and then stake them with us in our staking pools. Our overriding goal is to protect songwriters and creators. Without them, none of us have a job. None of us exist here without them. And so they are to us the keystone to all of this stuff. My first NFT is a Simone Biles autographed NFT. I love Simone Biles, and I think that answered all those questions there.
I think you nailed it. Awesome.
Yeah.
And then I guess I'll go through and answer the same for myself. It would only be fair. So I'm the brand manager of Asia Pacific at a company called Monstercat. We are an independent electronic music label based out of Singapore, Los Angeles, and our headquarters are in Vancouver. We have long been a music meets tech company where we have pioneered within Web 2 on platforms like YouTube. And over the last decade, we have been innovators or become innovators in Web 3 as well. You know, everything from concerts online in Fortnite to our own game in Roblox and doing multiple drops of NFTs on Nifty Gateway and beyond. We're always trying to figure out how technology can help increase artist sustainability. So it's an exciting space and just happy to be a part of this movement. So speaking of this movement, if anybody else wants to get involved, I guess I'll throw this out to Scot first, and then Christel, of course. But can you just give us sort of a 101 for people that are really not familiar with it and kind of want to get involved? You know, what is some advice that they can take home with them?
That's a great question. And I think it dovetails nicely with what Ureeqa is all about, which is just because you purchase an NFT doesn't mean it's authentic. Doesn't mean the person that transferred the rights in that NFT to either the platform they sold it on or the ultimate buyer that the work is what it says it is and that they had the rights to do that. So I would say choose the people you want to connect with and do business with carefully, and make sure that that we all do the right thing here, so that we continue. We're all responsible for the brand of NFTs, for the overall relationship of NFTs to this space. So I would say, do good work, find the right people. Don't go into this without knowing what it is that you're getting into, why you're getting into it, what's your purpose and your goal. And I think if you can check those boxes before you start the process, you'll probably be way further down than most.
I like it. Christel,
Yeah.
collectors or creators, what advice would you give them?
So I'll start with the creator angle first, and then
Okay.
I'll go into the user angle. So as a creator, it seems really tempting and amazing that any piece of art that you produce today, whether it's music, digital art, 3D art, generative art using algorithms, right, could be seen as so unique and so valuable that you can issue an NFT based on that, and someone would buy the NFT from you to basically prove the original ownership of this particular digital piece of work, right? That's the whole concept behind an NFT. But there are a lot of things I think to consider when you're a creator and you want to get your toes a bit wet into the NFT revolution. I would always say don't do it because of the money, because it's tempting to do it because of the money and you see it as an endpoint. But the NFT space, it's all about a gateway to new metaverses, to new experiences for your community, for your fans. And the NFT is just really the beginning, because the NFT proves that you have a ticket into this new revolution. That is what really it is today. So that particular token ID that is issued via a smart contract, which the creator basically does, that could be represented by a 2D picture today, a music soundtrack later. It could be something else as well if the artist decides to assign a unique piece of artwork to that. And I think that's super important. For a user, I've had different requests. In fact, I would say that one of the most interesting things that happened to me over the last week was that I was just telling Stephen about this. My father read the Chinese language newspapers and asked me, "What is an NFT? I don't understand. How come got so many words? What is this wallet thing? Can I go to DBS Bank and buy one?" And I'm like, "No, you can't go to DBS Bank to buy one yet, I think. But this is how you have to create a wallet, you have to do this. There is, things like OpenSea and different blockchains. And he literally looked at me and went, why is it so complicated? So there are a lot of different steps and checklists that I think a user also has to go through. So creating a wallet, how do you view your NFTs? How do you even send your NFT once you purchased it, right? So these are things that at Boat Global we're trying to solve, not just for the creators, but also for the users as well, to make the NFT revolution a lot more accessible, a lot more fun, a lot more easy to understand.
I like it. And what are some of the places where people can go to find NFTs? Like, what are some of the token places that you would go, real one-on-one stuff?
Wow, that's actually a difficult question. I would honestly say there isn't an easy way to do it right now. There's a lot of different crypto news outlets where you can view this information. The mainstream media talks about the sky high prices and Jimmy Fallon owning an NFT, but not how to get started. So it's always interesting, I think, to begin where a lot of the volume has started, which is OpenSea. They support two particular blockchains where NFTs can be issued, which is Polygon and Ethereum. So go through, I think, the collections and figure out why artists are doing it, what type of art is being produced. I think that's always a good start. Creating your first wallet would always be good as well, I would say. The default option for a lot of the Web3 natives would be MetaMask. We also have our BoatX web extension where we support Ethereum and the Zilliqa blockchains. So I would say start from there. Never be afraid to ask questions. And Google is always a good friend, but be careful from what you read because people whom you may see as influencers on crypto Twitter might not always be the right people. So yeah.
I love it. You can send me a let me Google that for you link. Okay, great. And so, Scott, you're involved in more of the music and legal publishing side. You're running the business, the music publishing admin for Ureeqa. And I'm wondering, so right now, if let's say I had a body of work, and Ureeqa, as I understand, is about responsibly minted NFTs, right? Let's say that I I found somebody who irresponsibly minted an NFT and used my body of work and was selling it online on the internet, on Web3. Where or what would be where would I go? What would be the process that would happen in that situation as it stands today?
Well, at a minimum, we would treat it in the way that we would deal with the same issues on any DSP platforms, et cetera. We would take it down. Every DSP, every platform has its own particular rules they want you to go through to initiate that process. But to cut right to the point, we would seek to have it taken down. Depending on the NFT itself, there may be other remedies available to us on the other side of that, but that would be the first step. Mm-hmm.
And yeah, it's obviously like a very new space, right? You could see even Ed Shapiro, the great, was a little nervous when talking about NFTs because there's such a gray area, right? Yeah, we're all kind of figuring it out and learning. I'm wondering, what do you see as some of the more exciting cases or some of the more interesting developments within that currently?
Well, one that I find really fascinating, I've been consulting to a firm in the US here on the Wu-Tang Clan NFT. And, there's so many things that are happening on so many levels that when you talk about this is a fast moving space, I mean, it's difficult to keep up. But an interesting case there is that the initial NFT was sold to an investor. All the exploitation rights were stripped from it. And so the NFT holder was simply allowed to own it and to enjoy it. That NFT became that buyer, kind of an infamous guy here, Martin Shkreli, ultimately filed bankruptcy. That asset, along with other assets, went into the bankruptcy estate sale, and someone new has acquired it. And one of the questions that is being banted around right now is, does the producer royalty survive the initial transfer of an NFT? And you'd be amazed at how people are lobbying for reducing the rights of creators in here. And that to me is just so frustrating. When Quincy Jones produced a Michael Jackson song, his expectation is he would receive his 4% for the rest of eternity. But now you've got people trying to flip that around and limit those royalties going forward, something no one ever considered 20 years ago when they drafted those contracts. So, I mean, that's just one interesting example of how different actors and different agendas are at play right now, attempting to influence the legislative scenario.
Very cool. Thank you for that. Christel, back to you for just a little bit. So you have, I think, something like 3.5 million users, and you're syndicating stuff like the BBC on a watch to earn model with your platform. It's very impressive stuff. I'm wondering, can you talk a little bit about how your platform is helping to empower musicians with NFTs?
I think that's a great question. So we look at independent creators as real users, and how we can enable that creative and financial freedom for them is critical to us. How we make the technology accessible to them is also critically important to us, and having them shape our platform is of fundamental nature. So we don't do a lot of work, unfortunately, with musicians right now, even though we hope we will do that in the future. But with the gaming sector, we're growing our esports gaming roster of independent streamers on our platform already. So a lot of these streamers who are from streaming on Twitch or other localized platforms by Garena, for example, in India, they're coming onto our platform because we're able to give them the white glove service. They're able to shape the platform, the future of the platform together with us. In the past, for example, just from a Web 2 perspective, because we did not have a live chat feature on the Boat Plus streaming platform, we actually work with these guys to look at the best way to incorporate these interactive features onto our platform. Now we're also working with them to see what are the different Web3 features, the NFT issuances, the wallet customization that will make the most sense for them, not just from a, I would say, adoption perspective, but I think a lot of Web3 providers today, we take a very general view of how the infrastructure is developed, and we need to dive a bit deeper into local context, into perhaps crypto to cash gateways, things like that that would allow for adoption and usability to occur. So this is something that we're looking at very closely in India, for example, because that's where a lot of our gaming streamers are coming on board through Playtonia Esports and Resilience Esports. They're one of the largest gaming leagues right now in India. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, I know you support a lot of streamers, and I'm imagining at some point might even go into musician streaming and whatnot. And you were talking about some pretty interesting applications of NFTs. I remember in our initial conversation, and there's just so many different things that NFTs can apply to in the world, beyond just what we know of as the latest drop on super rare or whatever it might be, right? Art may be paired with music. It can be, applied to things like making music collectible again, ticket sales, both in the metaverse and offline, even going into things like real estate. It's all about documentation, right?
Yeah.
And decentralized verification is the real crux
I think
of it.
you brought up a really great point, Stephen, because I'm a big fan of Monstercat and what they do already on Twitch. And one thing that I was thinking about, when we first spoke a couple of weeks ago was how could we bring and make music even come to life in the metaverse, in the virtual open world where anyone and everyone can stream online from anywhere around the world and literally own a part of that experience. And I think that's why music has so much potential as a whole genre for the NFT sort of ownership. And to your point, we're not just streaming music now, you can make music collectible again. People might not want to buy individual tracks anymore, but why not buy a ticket to the experience? And I think that could be a potentially interesting new revenue stream for a lot of artists and help them achieve new forms of creative and financial freedom too.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there's just so many different ways that you can go with it. You know, the technology is certainly disruptive. And I'm wondering, Scott, what are some of the other things that you might see NFTs being able to be applied to as it relates to the music world?
There are two things that I'm really, I mean, there's a lot I'm very excited about, but there are two things in particular. And one is sort of the DeFiing of the creation of music, allowing the NFT community to decide, you know, what artists they love and how they want to play a role in that artist's career, and whether that's they want to participate in it with an eye towards an ROI, or if they want to participate in it as a collector, as a fan. That ability for an artist to connect with their fan base through NFTs and raise money, I think, is a tremendously exciting thing for particularly the independent world. The other thing I'm really excited about is how the NFT space is going to change music merchandising. I think it's going to change music merchandising in some very powerful ways. I mean, we have lived with the same traditional kinds of merch, and I continue to believe we will. But there's so many interesting things we're talking about right now with artists with respect to merchandising and utilizing NFTs to create smart contracts to sell those NFTs is really interesting. Those are two things I'm very excited about.
Cool. And so, you know, the future obviously looks very bright, right? But we're not 100% there yet. We've still got a ways to go in the development of this technology. And I'm wondering, Christel, what do you think are some of the major challenges or obstacles that we need to overcome as a community to be able to really see this thing come to fruition?
I think the beauty about art is that you create it as a representation of your own creativity. You don't necessarily always create art for the user. And I think when I speak to different content creators now who want to get into the NFT revolution, I know it's the wrong question, it's the wrong mentality already when the first question they ask is, how do I make sure someone buys my NFT? And I think that's the fundamentally wrong question to ask, because you're doing it just to make the money. The NFTs should actually be, to your point, the ticket to a new community of super fans, for example, where you can give access to content. And I think that utility aspect is super critical, because there is a huge discussion around vanity and speculation now, but not how utility can be approached. And that's what we're trying to do at Boat, to incorporate the utility of NFTs into our streaming platform. The second part of it, I think, is how do you scale the rarity attributes of an NFT? If you want to get into the crypto space, for example, it's not that difficult to issue your own token on Ethereum or Solana or Polygon or any of the other compatible Ethereum virtual machine compatible blockchains. But to do an NFT, every single piece of art or whatever that digital artwork could be, digital creative artwork could be, is a unique piece of, it's a unique ownership, right? So you can't trade one for the other. It's like when I send Steven 1 Bitcoin today, right? That Bitcoin in itself is not unique. But when I send a CryptoPunk to Steven today, oh, that is actually something truly unique and can be tracked, and you can see the provenance of it. So artists ask me, so how can I create like 5,000 pieces of art that are all truly rare in one collection and sell them? That is the $1 million question, right? So I would say that that's why the different collections that have come out, whether it's CryptoPunks, whether it's Bored Ape, Yacht Club, which is a very good representation because the collectors of BAYC NFTs, they're doing it because they love rock and roll, they love that whole 90s concept, and they are bonded by that, right? So when it comes to that, I think the first step for people to understand what an NFT would be and a creator to understand what an NFT could be, it's the representation in a certain way of what being a part of the community looks like. So the avatar is an easy way to understand that. But to customize every single attribute and assign different rare variables per attribute, whether it's laser eyes or droopy mouth, right? That is something that is up to the artist altogether. So sometimes I tell some artists this, I'm like, look, don't post and pray. You can't just create something, post and pray that it will go viral, pray that there will be some influencer that picks it up and it will sell magically for 100 Ether. That is not how it's going to work. The floor price for CryptoPunks for a very, very long time was a couple of $100s before it became completely epic, and now it's a couple of million, right? So don't do it for the money, don't do it for the hype, don't just think about the fundamentals, think about the fundamentals, think about how that is just a starting point to your entire crypto journey as an artist.
Right, you got to build your community and deal with the scalability of scarcity. I wanted to ask you, how many different platforms do you rep your CryptoPunk avatar on?
Oh, that one? Oh no, so when I first got the first CryptoPunk, I actually bought 2. And then after that, I sold it off because I was like, I don't really want to collect JPEGs. I have too many tokens lying around already, you know what I mean? So that might have been one of the biggest, worst speculation decisions, I don't want to say investment, speculation decisions of my entire life. I have another sort of punk now that I commissioned. It's called the Pixel Portraits. So it's sort of like a punk of me doing activities like e-foiling, which I enjoy. So I guess that's the answer. Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, cool. So I think we've got about 4 minutes left. I want to open it up to the crowd and see if there's any questions for any of our speakers here.
Hi guys, Mike Middleton here from UMG. First I want to preface this question by saying absolutely I totally agree that NFTs are really, really interesting technology. But there's a couple of things that are problems and I don't think necessarily seem to be being addressed here. One, what do you think is the likelihood of a massive, massive bubble in the current NFT speculation in the same kind of like a giant Beanie Babies stroke tulip mania bubble? Because it seems that it's kind of like a Ponzi scheme. There's kind of it's basically a massive bubble not based on actual scarcity. So that's the first question. Then the second one, what do you do going forward to address the concerns about the sustainability of NFTs? Obviously NFTs require huge amounts of energy to produce things that are not scarce. Is there a way to make NFTs more sustainable going forward? Because obviously, is it worth destroying the planet for JPEGs? I don't know. You guys should have a better place to answer that.
Great questions. I'm gonna let either of you jump in, but I'm happy to also fire back on that one.
I can go first. I think you're right. What the media chooses to report most of the times are the absolute skyrocket prices, of certain collections and celebrities that have bought into the craze, brands that are actually going into the NFT boom. But for the $1 million NFT sales that's happening right now, I would say about 95% of NFTs in general, they're not achieving that crazy high, sky-high valuations. Yes, there are many of them in one collection, and the whole market cap of the collection is pretty high. But the individual NFT alone, you're looking at the average price, maybe $100, $200. So that's another part of it. The other part of I think the environmental concern, going back to it, Tulip Mania, right? I think it's a very different concept from Tulip Mania. I would honestly say that you have to do your own research, and obviously there would be bad actors in the space that would say, you know what, I'm going to issue an NFT and I'm going to try and sell it for $1,000. People eventually, I guess, will smoke them out. Some people won't, and that's unfortunate in many of the regards. I think what would be more interesting is to see how NFTs actually fit into the decentralized autonomous organization concept. Believe it or not, there are a lot of different what we call DAOs that is happening right now, and they are all self-run, community-governed, developer activity is booming, and a lot of them are literally doing different types of token economics to ensure the community governance, to ensure the sustainability of their idea, whether it's staking, whether it's liquidity mining, could be an artist idea. So I think NFTs as a proof of ownership into a DAO would be an interesting concept for the future. And that's why I don't even think we're at the end of the current super cycle for cryptocurrency as an entire market. Coming back to the ESG sort of implications of NFTs today, I think you're right. Bitcoin has always been seen, to be a very energy intensive blockchain protocol. You have Ethereum, of course, and there have been a lot of different critics that have come together on a Discord channel to complain that NFTs are killing the planet, JPEGs are killing the planet, right? I can't comment entirely on what the overall carbon impact of it is, to be honest, but most probably I would say shifting the focus to less intensive verifiability blockchains would be a good way to start. And I think this is just a function of the internet, how we can't really escape from that fact, so yeah, that's just my answer.
Awesome. Okay, hopefully that answered your question. We'll be around afterwards if you'd like to go into it a little bit more with proof of work, proof of stake, and carbon credits and these kinds of things. But
I'd like can I add a point? I'd just like to make one point here. I'm old enough to remember and was around during the beginnings of the internet when people were paying $25 million for furniture.com. This industry there will be bubbles and they will burst, and we will find ourselves better for that. We will learn from that, and we will watch this technology take its place in our commerce. I'm not worried about the bubbles at all. I think that's just common. I really look forward to seeing how we navigate through these things.
yeah, absolutely. It's an exciting time. We did the Web 1, the Web 2, and now for the Web 3, you're going to see a lot of the same things happen, but a lot of good come from it as well. I'm going to wrap it up here and give it on back to Jasper. Appreciate your time, and as I said, we'll be around afterwards if there's any further questions.